Any questions, comments, observations?
Since I just noticed that I don't know if it's because of the weapons or so there's more things to do, but I'm like not being as mindful as the lower half of my body, and I find that I'm not doing the Yunyashi stuff. I'm actually checking myself out with each step, and it makes me feel so slow and just like staccato with just my stepping.
Yeah, we saw a lot of that. So the same movement that lends itself towards stability, grounding, also lends itself towards projection, right? Sending energy away from me. But it also is the same organization that lends itself towards mobility. So for example, let's take an obvious one. When you push your knee over your foot, okay, and you require a great knee to go backwards or to change an angle off to the flank, you're going to have to bring that knee back first over your ankle before you can adopt a new vector. You see? So now you just added time to it. When you're falling, because you don't have the ground path, because you don't have the right ankle angle, like when we said your torso is not over your hips, and you're starting to fall, if you're not having to step in the very direction you were falling, you're going to have to regain your balance. You're going to have to put your torso back over your hips, right? Put the rider back on the horse before you can start to move in the other direction. So that's a whole extra step. Let's take the opposite side. You have locked your knees out. So many of you, when you come up, you seek height. When the movement is happening at Jodan, the upper level, your mind is pulled by it, and as your mind is pulled by it, your body follows. So I'm working at Jodan, my mind raises, and then my body raises. How? I lock my knees out. So locked knees is not the ground path. I need a knee bend. Now if I have to move, what do I have to do? I have to first bend my knees, and then I'll be able to move. So same thing, you're not grounding, and you've added an extra move onto whatever you need to do, and that requires more time. You're slower. So there's not this contradiction or antithetical relationship between stability and mobility. It's not a trade-off. Okay? The overextended stance or the super wide stance that somebody thinks is a stability is not. In the same way, the narrower stance or the moving stance that someone thinks is only mobile, it's not. It's very stable. So go back to your basics then. Where is my ankle angle supposed to be? What is the orientation of my knee? Where is my weight in relationship to which foot I need to move or not move? Just go to those basics. What is my hip to hip relationship? What is my shoulder to shoulder relationship? What is my shoulders to hip relationship? Check for those. And is my center gooey? Okay. Then go to the inner level. What is my mind? Am I panicked? Am I breathing? Are my shoulders up and my throat is tight? Have I gone blind? Has my awareness gone in and down? It's no longer up and out. Just run through the checklist. Every single thing we're doing is just that. Over and over and over again. Body organization. Every technique.
So I really pay attention when you do the technique, but I'm unable to actually do it. I don't know why.
So here's the subtext of your question I will address. Everybody learns at different rates. The structure, though, is always the same. I need exposure. And to do that, I need proximity and presence. Then how much exposure you need, that's up to you. That has nothing to do with your teacher or anyone else. So somebody might get away with 1 rep exposure. Got it. Someone else might need 10,000 reps of exposure. So what? If you're going to sit there and go, how do I get it to 1? How do I make it 5,000? How do I at least cut it in half? Who cares? Approach it the other way. Do I have it? No. More exposure. What I tend to find is that everybody's looking for shortcuts. When you look at a person who got it down to 1 rep exposure, you're not going to see a person looking for shortcuts. You're not going to see a person looking for life hacks, magic pills. You're going to see a person who kept gaining exposure, ensuring proximity, ensuring presence. For how long? Until they got it. So the question isn't really, what do I do? It's, what should I stop doing? What is all the other crap that is stopping me from getting the exposure that my body-mind requires? Anybody who's excelled at anything, because we're not that person, we just see the end product. Wow, I can't believe they can play the piano like that. Oh, how did they get so fluent in Japanese? But if you go and you follow them through time, you're going to see them saying no to a hell of a lot more things than they said yes to. They only said yes to one thing, right? That exposure pattern. But they're saying no to everything else. No friend. No girlfriend. No, I'm not taking that class. Nope, I'm not going to do tap. Looks cool, but not going to do it. I need more exposure. There's a writing that is quite funny, but very on the point. He's an author, he writes on Budo, trained in Budo, Dave Lowry. And he wrote an article, and I believe it's titled, Get a New Wife. So in the article, he's repeating, if I remember correctly, either he's hearing the story, or witnessing it, or he's the one that's doing it. I can't remember, I apologize. But this student is coming in and like, hey, I can't find a time to train. My wife wants me at home. And the instructor's answer was, get a new wife. And you might go, wow, that's cold. But is it less truthful? It's not. It goes back to, hey, you're not getting it. There's only one reason. You need more exposure. You need more proximity. You need more presence. That little cycle, that pattern, that tripartite. There's nothing magical to it. But how many things are we saying yes to? And then we're wondering why that formula is not working for us. Sometimes I see, I can sense as a senpai, I'll speak to you now. It's a very odd culture when you guys take days off just to take days off, to me. The formula that I found to work, and is very consistent across the board for mastery, especially for physical things that require a recovery duration, is 4 to 6 hours a day. You go in the sports world and you're going to see the same thing. Why is it not more? Because you'll thrash your body. But when they say that, they always, in their head, like, if it could be, we will make it so. And you know what? Let's go ahead and make it so for now. So you'll have these intensive camps. Yep, we're going to do it 7 to 8. How long? A week. Go for it. A week, right? Monitor everything. So when I was at the Olympic training camp, you woke up, breakfast, and you go train, and lunch, and then you go train, and dinner, and then you train, and you go to bed. It was easily 7 to 8 hours. And you ate according to that. Right? You don't go, I'm so starving, because you're going to throw up. Because you're going to be exhausted, and you got, right, 5 more hours to go before you go to sleep, before you wake up, and do it for 6 to 2 weeks more, depending on the intensive training. Because everyone knows, hey, don't overcomplicate it. Exposure, proximity. Proximity is proximity to the source. The teacher, the teaching, the art, whatever, the ideal. And make sure you're not just going through the motions. Presence. But as a senpai, just to give you some perspective, for you to understand how much no you really need to say. Your schedules are sometimes very interesting to me. Because I know you're not a cop, so you don't have that day. You don't have that day of 3 to 4 adrenaline dumps, right? Shift work on top of it. Huge responsibility. It's very draining. Leah's coming on as an explorer. She's just following me around. She told me the other day, I did the same. I came home, I just laid down, and that was it. She didn't know I did that. She comes home. It was just one of those days. And she was like, oh, I laid down, I totally fell asleep. But you're giving off the air of, hey, I trained 4 days and I'm going to balance my life out. Do you understand? So I'm going to balance my life, and so I'm going to spend time with my girlfriend, or I'm going to spend time with my boyfriend, or I'm going to go do this. But that's not an accurate picture, because you're only given 2 hours 4 days a week. What are you balancing? This is where my mind is coming from. You're not at the middle way. You know, the Buddha's path. You're not at the middle way. You're still in the palace with Siddhartha at the orgy. Do you get it? So, when I hear your question, I don't get it on 1 rep. I really hear you saying, how do I get it on 1 rep? How do I improve? How do I not require so many reps to get it? Use the formula. Plug in the variables, the amounts that you require. How do I know those amounts? If you're not getting it, keep adding. Keep adding. That is what everyone does. So we have done things to help you. What are some of the things we've done to help you gain exposure when maybe you can't get out of the palace? Yep. Everything is being put on videos for you to look at over and over and over again. We have writings on it over and over addressing it. We also organize the week's training. The training, we don't jump all over the place, right? This is what we're working on. So you get repeated reps, multiple perspectives on it, multiple opportunities. But even then, if you're not going to bother to watch a YouTube video because you said yes to something else, then might as well be no YouTube video. If you're not going to show up regularly and often through the week, the fact that we organize our teachings weekly is a waste. Do you understand? It might as well be a haphazard thing. If you miss weeks at a time, you will not have the experience that we've been building towards this. Your experience will be, this is a new thing I know nothing about. If you're not reading the secret group writings, there are people in the dojo that just don't even read the Facebook group. While it's there, they don't read it. They don't belong to it. Even there's people that don't belong to it. They go, hey, I'm not going to do social media, so I'm not going to. It's odd to me as a senpai. What? You're not going to take advantage of all this material? It's not worth it to you? You can't figure out how to address whatever evil you think exists in social media for the sake of all this material? So that exposure tripartite, you need to understand it from the negative side. You need to figure out, what am I saying yes to that I should be saying no to? I have just one last example so you see, and one last tool you can use. When I was learning this, I would plan my whole day. Get a little calendar with the hours, and the whole day was planned. Okay? You just write it in. And you include sleep, and you include your meals. You include everything that requires you to be able to perform at that high level. So you don't cut out sleep. Don't go, well, he said I should say no, so I'm going to say no to sleep. And then I can keep myself in the chess club and play the clarinet full time in a jazz band. And I can do Aikido. No, you will not be able to do anything well if you block off and get rid of sleep. So you can just start from there. I need 8 to 9 hours. All right, that leaves me the rest. And you'll find, holy cow, I got time everywhere. There's a lot of time. Why aren't I using that time between classes? Why don't I just walk and talk and chat and screw around? Why don't I sneak in some pull-ups here? Why don't I sneak in some push-ups there? Why don't I watch a video here or there? Because I'm saying yes to other things. So if it helps, try the schedule. But mastery is always going to be about how much more did you say no to. So check out that video. There's a video on this technique. There's a video on a Yumiyashi, and there'll be a video on the center. So a Yumiyashi is lower yang. We haven't done Tenkai yet, but it'll be lower yin, right? And the Kokyu-Ryoku is upper center, okay? I'll put those tags on there. This is my way that the body can be understood. Okay?